Welcome, everybody. Now, the world needs Elon Musk and Tesla more than ever. Tesla's board needs to increase security for Elon, and he himself agreed. Everything seems to now be lined up in place and just now ready for takeoff. Elon said full self-driving version 14 will be 2 to 3 times safer than humans. Robotaxi is expanding to Nevada. Optimus version 3 might be revealed in the coming months. Elon's Performance Award lays out the milestones, and investors are now realizing the game is over, and it's all about Tesla executing. We've got the bulls here with us today. I've got Tesla Boomer Mama, the Queen, Alexandra Merz, the Power Bull, Jeff Lutz, the Rational Bull, Mr. Incredible, James from InvestAnswers, the Analytical Bull, and Cern Basher, the Bot Bull. Welcome, everybody.
Hi, Herbert.
Hi, Herbert.
Let's start off with Tesla stock. It looks like that it actually jumped quite a bit today. So we've got here, I just took a snapshot of it, and it went up by $21, 6% today. James, let's get started with you. Like, what's going on with the stock? Are we ready for another bull run? I sort of set this up with everything seems to be lined up in place at this point.
Yeah, let me show you. Let's get the stock stuff out of the way, but can I show you 4 quick charts?
Yeah.
And I found something in preparation for the show that I thought would be quite interesting, quite unique. But I have a deck here. First of all, 2 months ago, we were on this show, and I said, a wedgie is forming, and we're going to break to the upside. That's where we are now.
Don't rub it in. Don't rub it in.
Sorry about that. Second of all, there's a big macro thing that I think many people are overlooking. We're beginning to see the traditional markets now front-running the rate cut. And let me explain for a second why. So I went back. I do this a lot with things like Bitcoin. I compare what happens to Bitcoin or other assets after the Fed funds rate gets cut. And when we go back in history, there's been 2 remarkable situations where that has happened. First of all, in 2020, of course, there was C19 in different circumstance. But after the rate cuts, Tesla went up 270% in 336 days. And then in 2024, we had kind of like a false start for rate cuts, nothing too hectic. But Tesla went up 141% in 123 days. So if history were to repeat, that means that whenever these rate cuts happen, Tesla could go up at least on average 0.97% per day. That's the first thing. And then second thing.
Yeah, let me, hands up though. Is that statistical? Is that a one-off thing, or is it statistical enough to be able to say that, right?
It's going back in history. When Tesla was developing stuff, it wasn't that rate sensitive. Now it's highly rate sensitive. Interest rates drive the cost of a vehicle in a very large part. And once the rate cuts come down, I think we could be facing a perfect storm of, I try and piece all the little things together in my head. You've got, the end of the $7,500 tax credit in the US, but at the same time, you're going to get the new Model 2, which would be a lot cheaper. And then it'll be cheaper to afford a car anyway with rate cuts. And there could be 3 before the end of the year. That's what the market is pricing in right now. And that could be quite spectacular. And before I move on too, as I mentioned a while ago on your channel, Herbert, we're between 2 big growth cycles. Tony C, the accountant, sees that too. The point he tries to make, and Cern, you love this as well, they're making truckloads of free cash flow. And they're investing truckloads in H100s, B200s, etc. And the growth waves, just to put them in perspective with a little chart made for children, because I like simple things for my simple mind. We had the growth waves, and I've shared this with you before, but I updated it a little bit. 2010 to 2013 flat, then a rampage for a year and a half. That was 2014, 2015. Then 2016 to 2020 flat, then a rampage. 2020 to mid 2022, another 18 months. And then 2022 to 2025 flat, very volatile, great buying opportunities. And now I believe, and I shouldn't even say I believe, but Elon Musk even said it, 2026 and 2027 are going to be bonkers and off the hook. So that's just where we are with the stock. I'm very excited, very bullish. I have been for a long time. I've been stacking like crazy for 2 years now. So here we are.
Wow. Cern, how are you reacting? Heart attack or giddy with what he just said?
Well, I was wondering whether those rocket ships are Falcon 1, Falcon 9, and Starship.
Me too. They were too small and too round, right? We agree.
Or Falcon Heavy, perhaps, in one of them.
And then the truckloads. I mean, there was 1 truckload quarter, but not 4 truckload quarter. But it's all good, James. We'll let you dream.
No, those are great charts. I think James is making some really good points. History may not repeat itself, but it may rhyme. Certainly, lower interest rates are sort of like rocket fuel to the financial markets. We'll have to see what kind of rate cut cycle we're on this time. And to the extent, too, that perhaps the 10-year rate comes down, then the discount rate on equities also will decline. And so that is a positive factor for all growth stocks. So Tesla could be helped out in a number of ways by a more relaxed interest rate environment.
Okay. And then do you guys, whoever wants to ask this question, maybe you first, Alexandra, do you guys think that this rocket ship jump up is going to be bigger than the other two, if it happens at all, by the way?
I mean, should we be at 316? No. So one way or the other, we'll have to get to 3,000. And I don't know whether it will go in a straight line, obviously not, or how long it will take. But we're currently not where we should be. We have not been for a long time. So will it go in one movement? I mean, obviously the fundamental situation helps, right? We're having a lot of good and exciting news coming between robotaxi materializing, between, more cities approving robotaxis, and then obviously the whole shareholder proposal, Elon being highly motivated and focused because his price is now locked in, 334, is it 334.09? Yes. So there is a lot of room upwards, and then add the Fed and add the positive sentiment. So it could be that we get to all-time high still this year. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, my reaction is that is it the rate cut, or is it a transition from risk off to risk on? And if that's the case, then all the fundamentals and all the stories we're doing, is people take that into consideration. But when you say 18 months, then okay, then I think we're good. We're going to be fine.
It's a perfect storm. And it's a massive transition like we've never seen before. And all those previous transitions, remember, they were all step changes. They were all 10Xs at least. So Jeff, what do you reckon?
Yeah, Jeff.
I look at what happened with Oracle this week, and that was a clear sign that AI silicon still king of the world, still big driver. NVIDIA, AMD ramping up. That's going to happen. That cycle is continuing. People that are calling for a pause on that were rudely awakened a couple of days ago. But look at the shift now. Look at Oracle now. Basically $500-600 billion company growing 30-40% of their market cap in a day or two, and they gave 4 or 5 years of guidance. So now this shift is happening, and now that shift is going to continue to real world AI objects, devices that can be in people's hands and be in people's homes, or be in factories, or things you can drive, these robots. And that shift has not been, I mean, I think it's fair to say that Tesla is obviously getting some amount of credit for that, just looking at the multiple on the product. But I don't think the market has fully awakened to them being almost a majority AI stock and a minority, shipping cars and hardware. People look at what's the source of revenues, what's the source of earnings right now, but it's such an interesting paradox. The forward multiples are based on future cash flows, and if you look at what Tesla is putting all their assets behind, all this capital they're buying, it's really to have these real world AI objects traversing through the world and basically upending the industries that they're in, and creating not only just upending in those industries, but actually creating new TAMs and having GDP impacting product. Now, there's a long way between where we are today on some of these things and executing, but you can start seeing the pieces fall into place. Especially we had another announcement today of a new state for that we're getting near approval for robotaxi. So to me, it's all about this transition of where the AI spend is going, where the investor dollars are going, and everything lines up with inference and these real world AI objects, and Tesla is front and center there.
So how does it actually do that transition? So right now it's the pick and shovels. Everybody's investing in NVIDIA GPUs, Oracle databases, those kind of things. Is it just Tesla, the only one that can prove that there's some sort of, post pick and shovel, but actually real world AI is an actual real business? Is there other examples of companies that might come first, or is it really just Tesla needs to show this as real revenue, and then that's a transition that happens?
Well, I'll start. And the underpinning for Tesla and what they've demonstrated for the last decade is this manufacturing prowess of being able to enter a category of building a product, revolutionize how the product is designed and made, and get the economics versus value trade-off, get that in a place that no other company can get it into. And so they've done it with automobiles. They're doing it with energy right now, and they're going to do it with bots. I think one of the biggest surprises, so Tesla's not going to ship every bot. Cern knows this with all the analysis. They don't have to ship every bot, but there's going to be a market share and margin share conversation with it. And for me, when I look at their manufacturing capability, these bots have to be locally manufactured. That is a very difficult thing to do. And I think this is where their whole portfolio comes together. Remember, AI brain, the ability to design a product that is fully featured, and the ability to manufacture it and mass produce it at a price point. There isn't another company that has those three things fused together and working at the same time. There are companies that have an element of that, and they buy another element from someone else, and then you have to tack that margin in. But there isn't someone who has that all under one umbrella and actually demonstrated that they have it working.
James, you said 18 months. In 18 months, there might be a rocket ship and Tesla going up. Can you explain a little bit more beyond just rate cut gets you a risk on environment? Oh, you're on mute.
That in the previous cycles, the rampage lasted for 18 months. This new epoch will probably last 3 to 5 years, because they have now set up the groundwork for mega packs. They're going to make a ton of money. I'll show you some financials on those in a minute. Robotaxi is going to scale really fast. That's going to create incredible free cash flow for the business. And at the same time, that's going to be plowed into scaling the Optimus human robot. So now they've gone through a lot of growth to build kind of a sequential scalable platform that's going to kick off insane amounts of free cash flow. So the next epoch is not going to last 18 months of rampage. It's probably going to be 3 to 5 years of rampage.
Mm-hmm.
And what's interesting about that, Herbert, I think, is we're going to have this classic battle between people that are focused on the here and now, this quarter and the earnings, and looking at the PE and saying, oh my gosh, look how high the PE is, with people like us that are a bit more forward-looking. We can look out past our toes and we can see the future coming, right? And when I compare the present value calculation that I have from my model versus today's stock price, you could drive a bus, multiple buses through that. And eventually that gap will close. But the process of closing that gap is going to result potentially in a lot of volatility. And it'll be volatility to the upside, but it also means that there'll be periods of time when that near-term crowd kind of wins out and the stock dips down. We've seen that with NVIDIA. It's on this incredible growth curve. Every single quarter, it's higher than the next. But yet look at the volatility that we've still seen in NVIDIA stock. Not too long ago, it was under $100 a share.
88.
Yeah, right. And now it's 170 and change. So we're going to see, I think, the same thing with Tesla stock. So again, it's going to be up and to the right, but there's going to be a lot of movement around that trend.
Yeah, to be clear, I mean, I'm talking to a bunch of people, and some Tesla bulls, bullish, and others are saying, we're not going to see, don't expect anything. It's going to be flat for another year. And then the end of next year, maybe the following year, that's when earnings come in. That's when we see the forcing function, and that's when we see its stock going up. Because right now it's still stories. You still have Robotaxi expanding, but not quite yet. Earnings can't show me the numbers. No, until it hits 5%. I think it was Joe who says he thinks he needs to have 2,000 robotaxis being driven without anybody in the car at all. It's in order to then be hit 5% of the earnings.
Herbert,
I think it's actually
Herbert,
free
I'm
cash
sorry
flow,
to
and then
interrupt
that's
you.
when it goes up. Yeah.
Herbert, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but all these people trying to micro time Tesla, they should have learned the lesson. That's not how it works. Tesla can go up 10% in a day or down on a news, on some craziness that has nothing to do with the fundamentals of the company, nor fundamentals of the economy, by the way. And then, it happens. Or we can have a sequence of 3-4 weeks where it goes up crazy nearly every day, right? And then nothing happens for months. So it's not 500 safety monitors, or it's not 2,000 cars here or whatever. I understand, and I worked long enough with Gary Black to understand finally how some men are scotched to their Excel little squares and need to put a number in there. But that doesn't work for Tesla. Either you believe in the end story and you have time and it happens maybe sooner or maybe later, or you're losing a lot of time on filling those Excel spreadsheets.
Well said.
Yeah. James, do you have more on the stock?
If you want to go through, there's a couple of things. I ran some numbers because, Cern, you had a great piece on how many to be a millionaire shares and stuff. That was excellent. I've been talking about people getting to 300 shares of Tesla since 2022 as being a target for retirement, because I always believed Tesla would go to $8,000 by 2032. So 10-year plan, stack 300 shares, etc. But we look at the mega pack explosion that's incoming. That's insane. FSD 14 is insane. Robotaxi expansion, insane. But I want to spend a minute on just looking at two lines of business. And Cern, we need to revisit this model with some of your updates. We don't quite agree on the robo-trucking, but this is basically EBITDA, Megapack, and Robotaxi sandbagged to hell. Okay, by 2030 to 2031, we will fall somewhere in the range of EBITDA of 129 billion to 281 billion. Okay, and that's just two lines of business. It's not cars, not nothing, just mega packs and robotaxis. Now, if we look at what that translates to a stock price, and this is what's very interesting about the actual performance plan, because when you break that EBITDA down to an actual share price, even assuming the share price number of shares grows by 3% per year, you get a $2,746 share price in 2030, up to $5,900, call it a $6,000 share price. Again, just for these two lines alone. And that is insane. So one of the things that the comp plan is very interesting is it doesn't take into account how the market will actually value the crazy EBITDA this company is going to make. And I'm not even talking Optimus. I'm not even talking Semi. I'm not even talking FSD or cars or any of that good stuff. It's going to be wild. So when that, basically what I'm trying to say is, since the comp plan came out, I've become hyper bullish because all of that stuff is extremely executable. Yeah, it's a lot of work, but they know they have the technical feasibility to pull it off. So I found it very exciting.
James, which of those milestones you said they're extremely executable, but which one is the hardest in your mind?
Optimus. Yeah. Getting to 1 million Optimus, I think they can do it. How good it'll be, I don't know. But I know they're striving for perfection, like Elon said, across the three things, the hands, the durability, and the brain. And there's no other shop on the planet that has all of those ingredients to pull that story off. So they can do it, but it will be a challenge. I can say they could knock out technically, feasibly, 1 million robotaxis within the next 12 to 18, 24 months. Not a problem. Getting to 1 million bots, harder. And I'm deeply concerned about rare earth magnets as well. And China, that's going to be a key part of it. And Jeff, you could probably talk to us about the supply chain challenges around the Optimus robot, but that would be the hardest for me.
10 million FSD subscriptions?
That's easy because they're going to do an OEM deal. That's in the bag. You'll have got Hyundai or Kia will bundle FSD into their cars, and that'll get them to 10 million easy.
Oh, that's a new angle. Okay.
Yeah, I could be wrong, but The comp plan doesn't preclude that, does it? When I read it,
No, I checked into that. That's what I've been saying too. The addition of a license, but that license thing takes 3 years and longer for the cars to actually get it.
Yeah,
I'm
right.
just worried about Elon getting one milestone at a time to hit it. Yeah, all of these can be maybe hit in 10 years, but
I think they'll
Elon's
get there in
gonna
5.
yeah, Elon's gonna try to get all these in
Yeah.
5, and so which is the one he's gonna get done first and second and third, right?
I go back to the operational machine, the engineering and the supply chain that they have is, I mean, objectively better equipped to handle this. Now, is everything easy, a slam dunk in the bag? No. Optimus is an extremely difficult product to manufacture. It's going to look, in my opinion, a little bit like EV. You're going to see a bunch of announcements and autonomy, by the way. EV, autonomy, bots. Think about this for a minute. What do we see on EV for 10 years? Tesla killers announced, PowerPoint slides, YouTube videos. We saw all these things. How many of them actually got to market? How many of them actually killed Tesla? The answer is none of them. And there's competitive products and market shares have changed. Nobody rational thought that Tesla was going to have 80% market share in perpetuity in some of these markets. But there's nothing that's killed Tesla. The Model Y is the number one selling EV in the world. So think of what happened with EV. Where are we today with EV? It's still hard to understand, or it's arguable. Is anybody making EVs profitably? That specific category reported with GAAP standards. Are they actually producing an EV profitably? So remember, you have product, market share, and business. And so that's EV. So a lot of announcements, a lot of flashes, a lot of we're going to do this, we're going to get to this capacity. A lot of it didn't materialize, to be honest with you. And that's true. Now move to autonomy. What happened with autonomy? Lots of prototypes, lots of different products. Think of what Ford was trying to roll out. Think of what GM was trying to roll out. Lots of different prototypes. Look what they're doing. They've got a physical Robotaxi. Look, it's driving. Look, it picked up a passenger. You just ask the next question. Well, what are the launch economics? What are the lifetime economics of what they just designed? What is the hardware? What's the what's the cost of the system, the infrastructure, the network? What does it look like? And then you just get a bunch of blank stares. Was it ever going to be profitable? So you're going to same thing with autonomy. A bunch of announcements, a bunch of entrants, a bunch of low volume prototype efforts. And then in the end, there's going to be Tesla and a few others standing, but there's going to be a majority market share and massive TAM expansion because Tesla and these other entrants are going to bring the cost structure way down. So that's that. The same thing's going to happen with bots. Tons of announcements, tons of videos, tons of entrants. There won't be one company that has all the market share. But if you do an objective analysis of these companies and you really dig into, do they have a history of developing high volume product? What is their actual bot? What are the degrees of freedom of the hand? What's the capability of this? And then you actually start digging into it. Do they have a plan on current drain? Do they have a plan on reliability? What are the different trade-offs with the actual final production bot's going to be? I think what's going to happen is that those 10 bots you see standing on stage with Jensen, maybe one other one besides Optimus is going to be a high volume bot that makes money and is profitable and gets to scale. Maybe a couple, maybe a handful, but it's not going to be the dozens and dozens and dozens we see all the time in these YouTube videos. So just follow the trend. What happened with EV, autonomy, and it's not, the bot is a much more difficult product to do, quite frankly, because it has autonomy in it and it has a more complex volumetric dense design, and the consumer reliability standards are a little bit more difficult to deal with than in some instances in a traditional automobile because there's so many more moving parts. So we'll see how it plays out.
I've got a question for you, Jeff, and for Cern. Cern, I remember you calculating the weight of a bot, and you could make 20 to 50 bots out of the equivalent of a vehicle from the actual mass of materials. But in terms of the limiting factor around rare earth magnets and China having a chokehold on that market, how does a vehicle compare? I know like Bosch, they use rare earth magnets in windscreen wipers and things like that. How does the magnet density in the vehicle compared to that of bots? Are they much smaller with the actuators, etc.? I'd love to know that, Jeff or Cern, if you know.
Yeah, I mean, we need to. The actuators are going to be custom, and with the custom actuators, they're going to have custom rare earth magnet allotments in them. So we'll need to see what the final mass looks like. There are some estimates out there. The way I would look at it is you have a little bit more degrees of freedom in an automobile. There are rare earth magnets in an automobile that over time, if you knew that you had to do this, you could transition them to ferrite magnets and other sources in greater supply. But I think Tesla, between now and mass production of Optimus, there's a lot of efforts going on globally right now for the refining capability of rare earth magnets. So it is true today that some of the rare earth types that you're using magnets have 90% or greater refining capacity in China. That is true, but that is going to change over time. And I think these two things are going to converge and they're going to be okay. But I do think bots are going to not be afforded the same kind of supply chain that automobiles and smartphones had. Automobiles and smartphone for years have enjoyed a globalized supply chain where you can find the lowest cost partner in the world and you can have them ship globally and you can just localize your factory if you decide to do that. I don't think bots are going to enjoy that. And I think it's going to make the supply chain piece of it excruciatingly more difficult to execute, besides the actual product complexities that they're working through right now with actually fabricating an actuator.
You know, that building off of what you said just a bit earlier, if you agree with what Elon's thinking about Robotaxi and is Elon thinking about bots in terms of competitors, he said for Robotaxi, he believes that in order to be successful in Robotaxi, you need to have a supercomputer, you need to have billions of miles driven, and you need to have neural networks and the team to be able to do that. If you don't have those three, he doesn't believe that you will be able to solve Robotaxi and have a Robotaxi out there. Which competitors have any of those three and parts of those three? Then on the bot, he just said, 2 days ago, he said, in order to succeed on the bot, you need to have the brains, you need to have dexterity of hands, and then you need to have mass scale production. If you don't have any of, one of those three, if you don't have all three of those, you're not going to succeed in the bots. And right now, if you look at all the demos by the Chinese that they're dropping and there's all these jumps and all that, great, but they have like stubbed hands. They don't have, all of this is, neural net sort of coded, not yet neural net proven to be, autonomous. And the bots are very fragile at this point. They haven't yet shown that they can, and not to underestimate them, they will be able to do this over time, but that's what you're watching for. That's a signal for both of these businesses.
Herbert's one more thing. It's the fusion between all three of those things. So getting that AI brain to function on that bot and what cost structure you get that AI brain to function on the bot, what's the latency of it? So there is actually, it's the three discrete elements you mentioned, but there's actually also the fusion of those elements working together. So this is going to be fascinating. This is going to be fascinating to watch, and just the fight for supply and these companies have to be able to make decisions very quickly. If that supply doesn't exist, then they have to create the ability to fabricate it and make it internally. And some of these CapEx decisions are 9, 12 months, 18 months or more in advance. So that's what they're actually dealing with right now. It's what are the tolerance requirements on these actuators? What can the industry do? And can I let up in the product, and can I allow more drift, wider tolerances, or do I have to grab this process from the supply base and do I have to bring it in and do it with higher precision, new processes that they may have not have thought of? That's the point they're at right now. And so that's what's interesting to watch. It would be an interesting question to anybody who's made a really high functioning bot, is what is the total manufacturing time to make that bot? every single piece part, and then the entire assembly. And the distance from there to getting into mass production viability is a mile.
Yeah.
It's truly a mile. So it's something that we used to measure as well. We used to measure the viability of the bill of material and how much of it is prototype tooled, meaning like not ready for production prime time, lower rates, longer processes, and what percent of the bill of material is on, can we shift it over to a production process? And my guess is you're going to find that that's fairly nascent right now with all the bots. And that's why I believe that even though Tesla's been out there and people are kind of tagging them saying, hey, you're delayed to your own schedule, I think Tesla's much more aware of what a production bot, what a production worthy bot is in terms of functionality and what it takes to be able to mass produce it. Some people may think that they're quote unquote on schedule, but they may actually not know where the finish line is.
Okay. Wow. This is a great conversation, just full of signal. Thank you all for that. Let's move on to beyond stock. Let's talk Elon's security. This is one of the biggest concerns for Tesla investors, of course, and given what happened yesterday with assassination of Charlie Kirk, this was something that, Alexandra, you brought up because you actually brought it up last year. And then this, because of timing and what happened, you said below in lower part, you see Tesla's expenses for Elon security in the 14 months from January last year to February. So about a year, 14 months worth, they only spent $3.3 million. That's it. Tesla and the board, can you please increase this drastically? We wrote you a shareholder letter more than a year ago, and I've got that too. Elon replied to you saying definitely need to enhance security. So I think if Elon himself agrees this needs to happen, that is a good sign, but they need to do this. I'll play some videos of him and his security as they're doing it. And then last year you sent this just now, right? Yeah. You said,
no, I sent this. Yeah.
You sent us that now, but you sent the letter to the board 14 months ago.
Correct.
And this is the letter with over 90% and more than 3,000 participants basically participating in this survey, agreeing that please, board of directors, increase the security budget for Elon. The board members and the employees and the sites, we set up the letter below. So thank you, Alexandra, for doing that. Tell us what your thought was there.
Yeah, well, thank you for giving me a stage on that one. So yesterday really hit home for me because Charlie Kirk is the age of my second child. And I mean, you shouldn't lose a child at 31-year-old who is the father of 2 young children. So it really got to me. And when I'm in this situation, it's one thing to cry, but it's another thing to think, what can you do? And so my immediate reaction was, how does this affect Tesla? Because, all I can think about is Tesla other than my husband, my kids, my job. And I had actually done the day before some of the research in the proxy. I'm still not done. I know you're all waiting for guidance on question 6. I'm still not done. That will come. I hope I have it by Monday, because Monday the definite proxy will come out. But and we'll be able to vote starting Tuesday. But I thought straight away, look at those security numbers, because you're right. They always calculate them over 14 months, because usually they publish the proxies in the spring. So they have determined that it's a good measure to compare the 14 months expenditure. And the 14 months expenditure 2023 beginning 24 was 2.9 million, and that increased to 3.3 million last year. And that was just not enough, because in the middle of that year we wrote that letter. And I mean, I'm all about writing letters, but I really want action too. And we always hear from our board how they're listening to investors and how they appreciate it and how they're looking at our X accounts and all that. But when I found out that all that happened after our letter was increasing the security from 2.9 to 3.3, I was furious. I'm sorry to say so, but I was furious. So let me explain you how this works. Elon's security is managed by a company that Elon owns, which is very wise. You don't want to delegate this to anybody. So this whole structure that is in place is Elon's company. And Elon's company then builds his different companies. So Tesla is one chunk of it. I don't know whether it's the biggest chunk or just an equal chunk with SpaceX and XAI and whatever. I don't know how they split it. We will never know, because the others are not publicly traded companies, but Tesla has to publish. So Tesla's chunk moved in those 14 months, 23, to the 14 months 24 beginning 25 from 2.9 to 3.3. So merely 10% increase. And so again, let me tell you, so in the middle of the most recent year, we wrote that letter, but also at the end of that most recent year, Elon was heavily into politics, and everybody was really, worried about him because he became target number 2. And so I just felt that Tesla's board, and you know how I defend them and how I spend a lot of time trying to understand what they're doing, and I always will, but I found that was really thin. And so I encourage people to write to the board, because there is on Tesla's IR website a page where you can just fill out a form and they get it, because I think we have to insist. And then obviously very, very relieved once Elon replied, because there was a couple of hours between my posts and his reply, and I thought, okay, if he is on board with having enhanced security, that's already it, because you have to live it. I mean, it's horrible having constantly security around you and having to plan everything and having to cancel stuff because it's too dangerous. But if he's on board with that, if it's then only coming down to being a financial burden, I'm sure we can push Tesla to enhance their share of it, and then obviously the other companies will probably have to follow.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. Like, okay, that's Tesla's investment into security. Well, what about SpaceX or Neuralink or all these other companies?
Well, we don't know how much they contribute, but they do contribute. We know that there is a pool of companies contributing to Elon's security company. And I don't know whether Tesla is the biggest part of it, but it's certainly an important part of it, because I don't know how they spent it, if they just, said, here are 4 or 5 companies. I mean, I don't even know whether Neuralink, because he never does really a public appearance, which may need security for Neuralink. But certainly for XAI, and I'm sure for SpaceX. And for sure for Tesla, they all contribute one way or the other. I don't know the key of distribution of all that, but all I know is that from 2023 to spring 2025, it only increased by 10%, and that can't be enough. That just can't be enough.
Yeah, I appreciate you highlighting that, Alexandra, because these are knowable facts on the outside, and we have his response as well. It's like he said this a couple of times. Yeah, I should probably increase security. The threat matrix is just outrageous, and what just happened yesterday was probably one of the largest political attacks, arguably in the last 4, 5, 6 decades in terms of political. I mean, this is horrible, and so we have many historic figures that are walking in our midst right now, and that we're grateful for, and the things that they do. And this isn't a lot of money. So we just need to figure this out. Even Secret Service level protection for the president. I mean, it was arguable kind of what kind of protection he had last July prior to the election. But even for a former president, it was insufficient. So it feels like there's gaps here of knowledge. There's there's a bit of a kind of a spark here in terms of what Alexandra has found in terms of, hey, there's not been an appreciable increase. There's plenty of capital here to go figure this out. It just needs to be prioritized and figured out until they get this, till they apprehend this person. Obviously, there's somebody out there that is, inflicting harm for some sort of political whatever. Elon needs to be safe. Okay. And these threats are going to continue to be there. So I think what the ask is for measurable, quantifiable. We don't need to know everything, because these things should not be actually widely known, but just, is capital being put aside to protect? That's a fairly straightforward shareholder question that should be answered.
Exactly. And money should not, the board is telling us, look, we want to keep him for 10 years. We want to pay him $1 trillion because you all get $7.5 trillion if this all works. And then we're talking about 3.3 million for 14 months security contribution. I mean, it just sounds so ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, when
the
you
guy
put
that
it
was
in perspective,
publishing,
go ahead.
The guy that was publishing the coordinates of Elon's jet is apparently still doing it.
Yeah, I mean, on different supports yet, but he's still doing it. And I mean, you know, Elon or any other major public figure, but obviously I'm focused on Elon. If you really are a target, you have to make it very difficult for these guys because they are motivated. They they want to get you. They want to have their moment of fame, and you can't take this easily. I mean, I love that it's set up that it's his company. I really love that because we know Elon good enough that he has thought this through, and the people he must really feel confident about. But if he understands it has to be enhanced, nobody should be stingy about it. And if they need to hear it from us shareholders that please open the checkbook and do it, well, they will hear it from us shareholders again and again. Okay. Because then, now the ball is with them. They have to act. If something happens on this low budget, they have it in their hands.
Okay. Thank you guys for addressing that. I thought it was very, very important. Should we move on or final comments, guys?
I just had one final comment. So, Alexandra, are we locked down in terms of things that shareholders can raise for the...
Yes.
Okay. Yes. I just think this needs to turn into, I mean, it's out there. It's been requested. Hopefully the board responds, acknowledges. Again, we don't need to or want to know any details, but just the fact that significantly more capital has been set aside and it's visibly different. I just think the first 10 questions in the shareholder, in the earnings, I mean, that question should be in there.
I
and
agree.
Then and same in the shareholder meeting when they open the mic up, same thing.
Yeah, and I heard from Bloomberg that they're having tomorrow morning in their 8:00 show a member of Tesla's board. And I mean, I know, Jeff, you've brought the question to Ed Ludloff in his X thread. I think that was excellent. And I really hope that journalists for once do their job because obviously board members are now touring institutions, are now touring journalists, are going on TV channels, which is great. I really appreciate that they're, hoping to get a really high turnout in the vote because that will help us all. But that is a great moment where the public eye can actually ask this question. And I think we should use this movement, this moment, that we're all upset about it to make sure it's brought forward.
And while you're all talking about protection, I think we need to go to the source of the problem. I don't know if I'm still muted, but the source of the problem, I think, is media, social media, all the hatred, all of the SSRI, anti-depression, nation, state, whatever, big pharma. That is the big problem because things are just spinning out of control right now. And we've got to get to the source, and there should be repercussions for media. And I sound like a European now with control around social media. When you have thousands of videos of people celebrating a murder, that's just wrong on so many levels. Anyway.
Okay. Well, the good news is Elon himself said, yes, probably good to expand security. Yep. I'll give the board some, leeway and say it's not because they don't want to invest. Let's just hope that it doesn't matter. What matters is increased security. Okay. Yep. Some good news. Robotaxi. We just found out through, get this out. Sawyer reported that Tesla has now officially received approval for Nevada's DMV to start testing autonomous vehicles in Nevada public roads. So he confirmed directly from the Nevada DMV that Tesla did get a testing registry certification approved. Autonomous plates and registry certificate were also sent back out to Tesla. So now Tesla can officially start offering robotaxi rides. These are the steps that you need to take. This approval shouldn't be difficult to get. This is going to be similar to the one in Austin where there's no one in the driver's seat. This was his letter that he received and a comment that he got back from the DMV. And then this is the next step that they need to offer. So it sounds like, that could be, but very likely that Nevada is the next location. Maybe there's another one that they already received approval from, but this is pretty good signal right there. So another Austin version in Nevada. They can certainly do it, but I don't know. Do you want to start off, Cern? We haven't heard from you in a while here. Do you think that this is a big deal for the stock, for a business? How do you look at
Well,
this?
it's a bigger deal for Las Vegas. If Las Vegas can get a robotaxi service up and running, that city has really struggled this year in terms of attracting visitors. It's down, I don't know, 10, 15% year over year.
Yeah.
There's various reasons for that. But maybe they should brand it an Intoxa-taxi in Las Vegas.
What?
Intoxa-taxi instead of Robotaxi, where you can be intoxicated and ride in a Robotaxi.
That's
Yeah.
Are you intoxicated right now, Cern?
Right. Well, I wish I was. Yeah. But anyway, Vegas needs something that's cutting edge, leading to draw visitors, and so I hope that Nevada recognizes the opportunity and wants to be a leader in this regard. And if I was Las Vegas, I would try to be on the forefront of rolling out Robotaxi service. This is something that would attract visitors to their city.
And it's interesting you say Vegas, Cern, because they have the loop there as well, the underground thing. And
It's by the way, it's Nevada. It's Nevada. So
at the same time, then they have the factory in a place
Reno.
called Sparks, Reno, and so I'm sure there's a lot of staff there that could test it out. And they got the new semi plant going up. But I think it seems to be a rural area. Looking at the overheads on the drone shot, it's like in the middle of a desert
In
or
the middle of
something.
nowhere.
It's like Burning Man. Inside the factory.
Yeah, I've been there. I've been there a couple times. It's pretty remote, but maybe we do a Cyber Bulls Vegas, Herbert.
we should.
Cern can intoxify the place, or what's
We'll
it called?
take the intoxic.
Intoxa-taxi.
So Cern can show us the Intoxa-taxi, how it gets utilized.
That's the dumbest name. All right, Alexandra, you have the best name for Tesla's Robotaxi. Tell us what you think it should be called.
No, we got that together, Herbert, remember?
No, well, I know you're hitting me on this, but so
I am.
What is it? A year ago, 2024, Elon posted a photo of himself, his profile next, and he had the word auto at the bottom. Alexandra said, you know what? That is the best name for Robotaxi. You should call it Tesla Auto, right? I'm going to hail my auto. I'm going to, let's take an auto.
All
to go
languages
somewhere.
understand it, yeah.
It's a great name. Auto, autonomous, auto. It's great.
Yeah.
And then, so I didn't steal your thunder. What happened there was I actually thought the same thing. You posted it first and I jumped on and says, yeah, you're right. This is a great name. So I'll give it to you. You're absolutely the first one to post it
that's
ever.
not how it was, but let's pretend.
But it's a great name, right? So forget the Intoxa-taxi or whatever that.
Exactly. It's Auto. Ein
Auto.
Auto. Bit. Oh, James,
Yeah, yeah.
we can do this in German. Ein Auto.
Auto.
That's what I heard.
Bestelle ein Auto.
Ganz
So
sicher.
you guys think that, okay, let's say it does expand in Nevada, right? One of the cities in Nevada, it goes gone. What happens? Nothing, because it's still going to have a safety rider.
But it's super interesting because when you count up the number of cities, it's already pretty impressive. You got Austin, Palo Alto, San Jose, San Francisco. You could say Oakland. And Fremont. I mean, they're all Austin scale size cities, and Vegas would be huge because that's a heavy, transport city. I mean, nobody rents cars there because they're all like CERN, completely intoxicated the whole time. I'm kidding, but yeah, that'd be huge. I mean, you call it tiptoe diptoe or something like that. The scale of the cities is blowing my mind because I originally thought 2 or 3 cities would be enough to get it, but they're just putting a few cars in every single one, trying to, and then they'll go big bang probably next year. Either way, I think they're getting ready to go big bang.
Yeah,
Las
I think
Vegas
they have
also
the
a
model.
very-
It's about operational scaling. I think they have the model. I think they know it works. I think this is about operational scaling and also the math behind how many concurrent vehicles and miles they can do between incidences. So I think they're balancing both. By the way, we don't see the releases that are going to the Robotaxi, the different software updates that are happening. My guess is they could be getting several iterative updates that improve. There is no tracking of that. We do license plate tracking. We do some other things. Nobody actually goes to that screen and says, what software version is on these things? So my guess is they're improving rapidly as well. So to me, there's 2 things happening. One is they have to operationally scale. The second thing is they have to get to version 14 and stabilize.
you will see that middle of November, everything will skyrocket. Once that vote is behind us and certified and they have what they want, that's going to be the moment everything rolls out. It will roll out in Nevada. It will roll out in New York. It will roll out in Chicago. It will roll out in Miami, wherever you want it.
Wartime CEO time.
Yep.
Beautiful thing about Las Vegas too is it's pretty much on a grid. It's pretty flat, and the weather is
Easy.
pretty stable there in terms of different weather conditions. So it's an ideal spot really to roll it out. And again, from a ridership and opportunity to show the world and showcase, Las Vegas would be one of the key spots to do it.
Yeah. Plus
You've
the
got so many
tunnels. I mean, you
international
have it
visitors.
all. You have it all.
Okay, so that's the good news. Now, on the other good news, he's just said when he was interviewed by All In Podcast is that FSD 14 is going to be 2 to 3 times safer than human, that our AI4 cars will be able to do this. But the bad news was, or I interpreted it as that last month he said that FSD 14 will be released by the end of September. Now, in this interview, he said it will be released in a few months.
He didn't specifically refer to 14, though.
No, he did.
Oh, he
FSD
did?
14 will be
Noted.
released in a few months, was his actual words. Yeah. So that's okay,
a lot
right?
a lot of things came together, Herbert. I don't know, because he also said sentient, right, by the end of the year. That's a few months away too. So it's just, I think they're struggling a bit because just of the complexity of building the model, the testing, the changes they have to do. I think it's a little bit. This isn't heuristic code, and this isn't some iterative thing that they're doing. I think they're making a fair amount of changes. So I think the predictability of when 14 comes out is definitely going to be challenged, to your point. But I know it's just like, okay, we're in this window right now. I've always said, any of these major hardware deliveries, any of these major software deliveries, put a 30 to 90 day window. It's fairly reasonable. And that's even on existing known stuff. This is brand new stuff that nobody in the world's ever done before. So I know it gets frustrating at times, but I think they're getting closer.
Okay, let's move on to the next topic. Let's do quickly the shareholder voting. Maybe you can take 2 to 5 minutes, Alexandra, just get us up to date. As we get closer and closer to the annual shareholder meeting on November 6th, and prior to that, sometime soon, you'll tell us the proxy will drop. We need to prepare all Tesla retail shareholders what they need to do and what they need to know.
Correct. So, I mean, it's too late to change accounts. So those that didn't change accounts, well, you will have to fight with the banks you're in if ever you can't vote. But so on the 15th, normally the SEC will have put all their comments to Tesla, and we will see the definitive proxy. So that's Monday. Monday is also the date of record, meaning the number of shares, not options, not ETFs, not whatsoever, but the number of Tesla shares you have in your accounts count on Monday. 1 share equals 1 voting right. And that means on the evening of the 15th, or most probably on the 16th, depending on your bank or broker, they will prepare a control number per account where you have Tesla in it. So if you have a 401k, if you have an IRA, if you have a margin account, if you have a normal broker account, you will get 4 control numbers. And with these control numbers, the system then knows how many shares are in each of these accounts, how many Tesla shares on the 15th. And then you are either directly guided by your bank with a link to this proxy voting website, or you already have an account there, or you get the instructions from Tesla or from me where you have to log in and then put your control number in, and then you will have, I think it's 13 questions. Now for those 13 questions, Tesla's management gave us their recommendations. The first 5, they said 4. Then there are 2, number 6 and 7, where they don't give a recommendation, and then all the others are shareholder proposals where they are against. The 2 that have no recommendation, the second one is the XAI investment. So you make up your mind and you decide whether you want to be for or against that one. Or if you don't vote on that one, it will be counted as a none. And the one that I'm not clear yet what I'm going to tell you what to do is number 6. Number 6 is one where they will change the official documents of the company, the bylaws and the certificate of formation, to get away from the shareholder supermajority need, the 66%, and where there would be directors voted for every year. Now, it's really strange to me. I've never seen this before, that management proposes this, but then doesn't give a recommendation. So why propose if you're not saying whether you want us to be for or against? I mean, I don't get it. And I asked actually Bloomberg if they have tomorrow a member of the board to ask them what this is all about. Why do you put a point up for vote and don't give a recommendation if it is your own proposal? Anyway, so why does it take me so long to get to a conclusion on that? Since 2014, two shareholders, minority shareholders, not 9 shares, but not much more, Mr. McRitchie and Mr. Sheveden, brought forward every year some shareholder proposals to get us off the 66.6% supermajority and to have shorter terms of the directors. Now, and they still have some of the ones in today's are in there as well. By moving from Delaware to Texas, some of those 66.6% rules went away anyway. So it's really a big puzzle for me to put together what's still in place, which are the ones that are actually affected by this new thing, and whether we should vote for or against it. It's not clear at all. It needs a lot of research, and I want to make it right. So just bear with me, and as soon as I know what we should do on that point number 6, I'll let you know. But that is it. All the rest, they guide us well, and then we have to make up our mind for the XAI investment.
Proxy drops anytime now, right? Because it's 2 months away, less than 2 months away from the November 6th annual shareholder meeting. We got to see the proxy.
The proxy is dropped. The preliminary.
That's preliminary.
Proxy, yes, and the definite could be to the dot the same one. It is currently lying on the desk of the SEC for comments. There's always a period between the preliminary proxy and the definitive proxy where it is with the SEC. Should be on the 15th that the SEC's time to review is over, and it could be that it just comes back unchanged.
That's 4 days from now. Woo, we're getting closer and closer. Thank you for giving us update. These are things that we all need to work on. So, Alexandra, and I'll do my best to help tell everybody what we need all to do. Everybody needs to work hard next couple months.
Herbert, just a quick comment on Proposal 6. My concern about changing from supermajority would be it would potentially make it easier for just a 51% vote to affect massive change in the company. So in this period where Elon does not yet have the voting control that he'd like to have, 25%, I would be a little bit cautious about approving something like this.
Interesting. So they
right. So
exactly. So why didn't they say against? Because that's my feeling. I think they want us to be against it. But they're saying none. So is it to try to stay neutral and really make this a shareholder thing?
Not be sued?
Well, I guess they made a promise. They said that as once they achieved a total shareholder participation rate of at least 65%, right, they would propose these amendments. So I guess they're just saying that since shareholders are sort of wishing that they would address this, then they are addressing it. They're making it available for shareholders to vote. Okay. I would also be a little bit hesitant to just approve board seats like 1 year at a time. I don't mind the idea of having sort of staggered board seats. And I think for a director to come on the board for a year and serve,
that's waste.
I'd rather have some tenure there, I think. So I'm not wild about these proposals.
I agree. And actually, because Proposal 1, the renewal of the term of Ira and Kathleen and Jogebia, that one is for 3 years. So in Proposal 1, they say, please vote for these directors for 3 years. And then in Proposal 6, they say, okay, we don't tell you what to do, but our proposal is to bring it down to 1 year and to 66%. So I think they want us to be against. And I think my recommendation is also going to be against, but I'm just not done with the research yet, because it's enormous, because they refer to Proposal 13, and we're going to go there. You find all these old ones since 2014, these two gentlemen who do this, by the way, for all the big mega caps. One of them, I think it's Sheveden, he got fired, and he felt it was very unjust from one of the airlines, if I remember right. And then he became an activist investor and bought 100 shares from every company on the S&P 500 and does all these letters, the shareholder proposals all the time. Mm-hmm. And then he got support from this Mr. Ritchie, who is running some non-profit, and that non-profit seems to be Soros financed. Again, I'm at the beginning of this whole thing, but it seems like, a whole house of cards that's behind it. And so due to that promise that Tesla made, they seem to be obligated to put this in. But we have to be very careful what we do, because if we don't vote on it, it could, or if suddenly everybody thinks, oh, it's management proposal, let's go for it. I don't know. So I think we need to be very explicit on that very point to tell everybody what to do.
Okay. All right, James, you introduced a segment called Quickfire Questions. It was well received by the audience. Let's get started with Quickfire Questions. You have a list here ready?
I do. Well, I have 5, but we normally only have time for 3. So
we got 10 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. We'll go fast. First of all, and this goes back to there's no deck, there's no slides for these because I tweaked them, based on what we discussed today. Like, how will Tesla's V14 achieve 2 to 3 times human safety levels with the 10x parameters? There's so much confusion about this. I'm hoping somebody here can shed some light on it, especially in light of the timeline changing a little bit to year-end 2025 instead of FSD 14. And the other dovetail part of that question is, when Elon says sentient, is that FSD 14.2 or is that FSD 14 flat? I think there could be multiple versions within 14. Thoughts?
There will be there will be multiple versions of it, and they will find issues as they go to wider deployment. The 10x parameter count is, think of it as like there's more stops and more resolution on the volume dial, and or there's more stations, there's more radio stations that you could stop and listen to and gather more information and do useful things with it at the vehicle level. So that's where they're going with the higher. They're basically doing this trade-off between and what they can do in the vehicle from a processing perspective versus what's done offline with training. And this has been taking them a while to iterate and get to this point. But it's going to be more capable vehicle. It's going to be able to handle more use cases, more edge cases. Remember, what we're driving in right now doesn't really close the deal, right? In navigating through parking lots, there's some issues with it. So this is what going to this higher parameter count and just raw fixes that they're going to put in is going to enable. Elon says this is the biggest release since V12. And we saw the jump in performance. You drove your own car with V12 to V13. Now he says this is the biggest jump is going from 11 to 12. That's a pretty sizable move. We've already seen, many orders improvement. We don't have, by the way, on the outside, the data and the resolution of the data we have is one thing. So you're kind of going off of your own subjective, usage of the product, right? Because there's very little data that's useful in aggregate. So, but yeah, higher parameter count, more resolution, more use cases solved, more bugs solved, higher capability inside of each vehicle. I would say hardware for vehicle right now.
Yeah. And either way, we're talking 12 to 15 weeks, so it's not that long to wait.
And in terms of the word sentient, right, we are already seeing some version of sentient. Like, for example, remember that guy who showed, Dirty Tesla showed that when it went to a toll booth, right, that was the toll booth kind of showed them the ability to, to actually understand the actual interaction. Then there was one with the drive-through. There'll be more and more of those kind of examples where the car seems to understand the context that the car is in and behaves accordingly. And I think that's what he's referring to. We'll see more of that.
Yep. Second quick one is one of the breadcrumbs that Elon dropped was, Robotaxi access to half the population of the country by the end of the year. With the rollout of new cities, like, you don't have to go for half the country, but you just have to go for the highly populated cities. That seems maybe on the charts. I'm wondering what the panel here thinks. Quick yes or no by the end of the year.
No.
Oh, negative Nellies. Whoops.
Well, I mean, so first of all, they can easily launch supervised FSD, just like they did in California, in New York and Florida. Now they're going to do Nevada and others. They can do that. But it might have a handful of cars in each place, but that is kind of like just a weird definition of, well, we've got presence in, call it half the country.
Yeah, but Alexandra, half an hour ago, you said once he gets past November 16th or something, and I said yes, you get the wartime CEO. And even if they drop, just think about this.
Half the country.
But think about this. You just need to go after the top 25, 30 cities, Cern, is it, to access half the population of the country?
No. Look at where they're looking for
city.
vehicle operators at the moment. They need vehicle operators to start and map it out. So no way. Don't get your hopes up. But if you want to get your hopes up, who thinks we'll have an affordable Model Y in 4 weeks? In the next 4 weeks.
Yep.
I do. Yeah, we've seen it running around Daly City.
I'll do a quick fire question. And let's see, what is the name of this more affordable vehicle? I will go with Model YS.
That's like the
YS.
iPhone.
Yeah.
That's an iPhone S, so the cheap version.
No, so there's a Model YL. There should be a Model YS.
Because it's shorter, but if it's not shorter, why would it be
Smaller?
S?
Model YC for cheap. I don't know.
I'm going to go
go
with
anyway.
Robotaxi.
Talk to taxi.
I'm with
Nobody
Cern
has a
on
guess?
this one.
That's a good one. In
think
terms
YS
of
is
the million robotaxis, have any of you given any thought to how much infrastructure is required to support that fleet? And will it bring in third parties, or will they do it all themselves?
All themselves.
Yeah, unless there's a sort, I think they're going to have the infrastructure, the capability to do it themselves, unless somebody comes in and offers a better service at a lower price. So that's
Then they'll buy them.
one of the great things of being at volume at scale. Yeah.
What if Hertz comes in December after it's all been approved and Elon wants to get his thing and he says, we're going to buy, again, they're going to say it again, I'm going to buy 1 million Teslas and we get to do the vacuum cleaning and the charging, whatever.
I would say show me your planning model, because the last time you did this, you effed it up and what your assumptions are. I'd much rather hear from Avis or Enterprise. Get out of here.
Yeah.
Okay, so another quick one. Based on what I showed earlier, it's more for Cern, because you've done as much modeling as me, maybe even more. Do you believe 2 lines of business could make $300 billion in EBITDA by 2031, those being robotaxis and the Megapack alone?
I don't have my model in front of me, James, but certainly those businesses are capable of that kind of profitability over time. I'm not sure about that time frame, but certainly in the 2030s, absolutely.
Yeah,
The scale of those 2 businesses are enormous.
The new Megapack, whatever block thing, is very exciting to me.
Yeah.
And then the other quick one is milestones for Gen 3. I do have a slide on this, which is interesting, because Elon always talks about the 3rd generation always being the perfection. And we have that with the rocket engine. I can't remember what it's called. I'm having a brain fart right now. But we know they
Raptor.
are working. Raptor engine. We know Gen 3 is in the works.
Mm-hmm.
The question is, how long will it take before we start seeing it running around? Again, I've asked this question before. Will it be sometime Q1 2026 or before the end of the year, or
Shareholder
late
meeting.
Shareholder meeting.
No.
Okay. That's bullish.
Yeah, so this is version 2.5. He confirmed that, right? And my suspicion is that we're not going to see Tesla Optimus version 3 until the new year. And the reason is you don't want to show the product, because others will just immediately copy it, until I think you have already a production line going, maybe 1,000 bots per month run rate. Then you might want to show it at that point. I don't see the value for them to come out on the shareholder meeting and show the product, the version 3. I mean, there's value, right? It's a brand and it's going to excite everybody and all that. But I think that there's no point for them to show anything until they're ready to produce at least.
Can we
a
replay
sizable
that
number.
once it's been there? Can we then just replay that and
Yeah.
shame you?
And can I throw this off Jeff as well?
Who doesn't agree with me? Yeah.
Well, to counter to Herbert, you've noticed,
I-
Jeff, they've covered up a lot more of the limbs, concealed a lot more things. And you know, from the cell phone business, you might see a cell phone from the outside, but you've no idea what's inside. Does that same thing apply to robots?
Yes. I agree with Herbert's sentiment. I wouldn't show the product until it's within a month or two of being able to be out and distributed. There's just, but yeah, there may be some hybrid. Maybe they cover up certain things. I don't know. But there's no reason. There's no reason to do it. Remember what you're showing off with the bot too. The three important things: the brain, the capability, the physical hardware capability. In the case you mentioned the hand, and then your manufacturing capability. So Tesla could show off any one of those things in discrete form and still impress a lot of people. But if I were Tesla, I would not show the bot in its final form until I'm very close to production. And then, because what they can do is they can work with partners under NDA and do any kind of testing that they need to do. But we know the first move for Tesla is they have Tesla factories, they have SpaceX factories, they have Starlink factories, they have plenty of places to deploy these bots.
Good stuff.
I will take the opposite tack. I think Tesla will show the bot off. I agree with Alexandra. Not everything. I think they'll hide certain components like the hands. They may not see the hands, for example.
Yeah.
Although as a counter to that, Figure AI has had their V3 bot. I think Herbert has seen it. And this was last year, Herbert, right? And they have not made that.
I hugged it.
There you go. So they have not made that
Oh my
publicly
God.
available or shown that yet. Yeah.
Herbert,
Yeah.
this is PG rated.
PG rating.
Jeff, I don't know what we're doing.
Clean.
Final question, quick fire. This is like 7 now. We're going through them real fast. I like that. Given Elon Musk's warning to shorts, they're going to get wrecked or whatever in very short order. There was an increase in shorts towards the end of August, up to 76 or 78 million shares. Do you believe what we saw over the last 2 days, was that the beginning of a short squeeze?
There is no short squeeze. It only takes a day to cover.
Yeah.
There is
It's
no
a-
short
still a
squeeze. I
day.
mean, I love how everybody fantasizes about short squeezes. There's no, I mean, we'll have always robust movements. That's how Tesla moves, but there is no short squeeze.
But a $22 move today is pretty big, and that's after subsequent moves. It's just
But
either
not
it's
because of the short squeeze.
so the other thing.
You did see that after I don't know how many years, Dan Nathan finally went on CNBC and said he's now very bullish on Tesla. Not that
Yeah,
I
that's
like
this
the
guy?
guy, but I mean he has been one of the big bears.
My
Yeah,
other theory,
Nathan.
when you look at the chart, it's clearly under constant accumulation. Every dip is being bought up. So this goes back to the very first theory I mentioned at the beginning of the video, that I think TradFi is accumulating before the rate cut. Anybody believe that theory? Final question.
What's accumulating?
The TradFi, traditional institutions, retail have their bags full. They're fine, but the others are lagging big time. And Alexandra, I know you look at this data. I'm wondering what you're seeing.
I mean, they have bought since December, right? And then we had a little stagnation in March, and we're about at that level end of June. The way Tesla has set up this year's shareholder meeting means that both institutions and us know that date of record is on the 15th. If somebody wants to be mean, they buy a lot of shares on the 15th, sell them subsequently, but have the voting power and then vote against whatever they want to vote against, right? So I don't like this transparency of the date of record. I just think, I don't like it because there's so many Tesla and Elon haters out there, and that's a nice window for them to exploit, but there's nothing we can do about it. I'm not going to lose sleep over it. So do I believe that we will have more institutions in the long run in Tesla? Of course I do. I think the rate will go up to 70%. That's why it's so important that Elon gets his voting shares and retail stays at levels that we have at the moment.
So what gets me challenged about that theory, it doesn't really make logical sense to a typical person to invest and buy. And second of all, as Jeff said at the beginning, I was looking at what happened to Larry Ellison this week. He owns 42% of Oracle, goes up by $400 billion in a day. That's staggering.
And what happened on the next day, James?
Little sell-off. That's always mean reversion. Yeah. But if people listen and give any credence to what Cathie Wood says, that Tesla is the largest AGI AI play on the planet, and people know AI is hot, and this thing is the most drastically undervalued AI play, it's a no-brainer to accumulate. And seasonality of Tesla is rampages into year end anyway. And we know Q3 is going to be red hot. So that's my counter to that. I just wanted to hear the panel's thoughts.
I mean, you heard me say I think we'll get to all-time highs before the year end. I'm usually not somebody to predict anything, but I do believe there is there's so much good news stacking up, and we have a very focused CEO now.
Yep, and we're up in after hours too. So today's gains keep on giving.
Let's go.
$370 at this point. Yeah, these are
all we need is $100 now.
to hit the all-time highs. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And
well,
the thing I would say, I said this earlier, I just want to reiterate it, because there's such a difference between the current stock price and the present value of the company.
Yes.
That's an opportunity. I don't know whether that opportunity will be realized in a week, a month, 6 months, a year, 2 years. I don't know, but you want to invest in companies where there's a big difference in those two numbers.
And I do believe Tesla is still one of those where this difference is enormous compared to many others where this difference is not existent anymore.
Yeah. I hear
not
from
financial advice. Yeah.
lots of investors that they ignore that 3 to 5 year horizon. They completely ignore it. They will not look at it. They will only look at this year and next year. That is all they look at. They don't care about anything else because they're under pressure to perform now. They want their capital to compound this year and next year. And to them, if the results for Tesla come in 3 years, they won't even consider it. It's like, doesn't even exist. But for retail shareholders who are not under the pressure to perform for quarterly results or even a calendar year, you can position yourself very differently than the professionals do.
Yeah.
Not investment, but
Yep. Perfect. Thank you guys very much, James. You always come with incredible data and new information about the stock and what you're thinking about it. Thank you for that.
What's this bar? Tell us all about it.
Oh, this is just called aging.
Oh, like AGI, NG, AGI?
Yeah, no, it's just long, lazy. I don't know.
I'm saying he's not shaking until Bitcoin gets to 150K.
Right.
There you go.
I'll send my Intoxicab to come get you, James.
Actually, in full disclosure to the team, about a week or 2 weeks ago, Tesla became my biggest position again. So stacking works. So I'm now all in on Tesla. Kidding, not all in, but I have a very concentrated portfolio. Basically, I'm 90-something% in 4 things, but Tesla is now my biggest position by a good stretch. So we're back.
Thank you to the panel. Of course, Alexandra Merz.
I still have 30,000 to invest. I'm going to run after the price, but I'll be there.
Because we do have an air gap as well, not to cause any FOMO, but there is an air gap from kind of 380 to 420 to 430. So if we hit that, it could go pretty fast. And price makes narrative, and people chase narrative. So there you go. Be careful.
Yeah.
Do split the difference. Drop half now, and then save the other half.
I'll keep you updated. I'll keep you updated. I feel like the best lady in town, but there we go. I'm the only
Don't give financial advice. To Alexandra. Thank you, Alexandra, of course. Thank you. All that information you always share. Cern, thank you for sharing all the work you do financial. And then we've got Jeff Watts, manufacturing, just knowledge about how products are built and distributed. Thank you guys so much. This is the power panel, as I always like to say. Appreciate you guys very much. See you.
Great stuff.
Bye.
Thanks
Thank you. Appreciate you, Herbert. Thanks.